All right, guys, so we're going to do 7.5, which is graphing two variable inequalities, and then we're going to also put in like systems. So you're going to graph two inequalities at the same time. We're doing that because these lessons are really short and they're pretty fun. So I can graph linear inequalities with two variables. So instead of having just a number line, we're back to a two-dimensional. We have a slope, we have a y-intercept, we have an x and a y. So we graph just like normal, except instead of having equal sign, you've got less thans and greater thans. And so instead of y just being equal to your line, like your line is the answer, you have everything above that line, like everything's greater than that line or everything below that line. So I make a little table, and this table is your best friend, and we're gonna fill it in. So if I have a less than, so less than or equal to, or just a less than, then that means I'm gonna shade below the line, because I'm talking about everything less than the line. And then likewise, if I have everything greater than or equal to or greater than, then I'm going to shade above the line because I'm talking about everything greater than the line. If I have an equal to line, like if I have the line under the symbol like that, I'm including the physical line. Like you're going to shade everything above or below the line, but then I'm also like the line that is actually there. I don't know if that's it, but don't write that, just watch. If that line, like this dot right here, is a possible answer, it's included. Then instead of having like a closed circle on the dot, right? Remember doing this with compound inequalities, closed circles or open circles. We do a solid line versus a dotted line. So that there's no rhyme or reason other than this is just how we decided to represent these different symbols on a graph. So let's try it out. Step 1, solve for y if needed. You don't need to this time. You will in a second. Graph like normal. Plot the y-intercept. So my y-intercept is -2. Put a dot on -2. And then my slope is -1/2. So down 1/2, down 1/2, and so on and so on. And I'm going to go backwards. So instead of down and right, I'm going to go up and left. And then I'm going to look at my symbol, and that's going to tell me the rest. Tell me what I do next. So that is a greater than or equal to. So that means I'm going to shade above. So on Delta Math, there will be like a button that you click to say whether to shade above or below. Above, hopefully feels good. This is above. Okay, so look at the y-axis. Here's my line, everything bigger than it on my y. Okay, that's shading above. And then it's going to be a solid line. So, sorry if that was loud. Solid line. And again, on Delta Math, there's a button on your test, and right now you're going to draw it. So that's what it looks like. So you graph like you always do. And then depending on the symbol, just look at your chart. I mean, I don't expect you to memorize this stuff. I expect you to look. Okay. So shade above because it's greater than, solid line because it's greater than or equal to. So let's try it out again. But now I got to solve for y. Notice y is by itself, like there's nothing there. So I'm going to move my x term over, and then I'm done. So y is less than -5 minus 2x. Okay, remember the slope is always the one with the x. So -5 is my y-intercept, and then my slope is down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and then backwards up to left 1. Okay, and then I look at my symbol, and that's a less than, so it's going to be a dotted line. So I mean, we did dots already, but you can do a few more if you want to like have a dotted line. And it is a less than, so I'm going to shade below. So I look at my y-axis and I'm like, okay, below it is this way, so it's everything this way. Most of the time you can just see that it's, you know, above or below, but sometimes it's tough, so always look at the y-axis. Okay, last one. Add the x term over. Remember, I'm doing this because I'm solving for y. The way that we would solve for anything. I'm moving everything away from the y. Now I'm dividing by a negative. So that's like, I gotta flip the sign. And then I simplify. -24 over -3 is +8. 9 over -3 is -3. So my y-intercept is 8. I'm going to go down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. Oop, I can't count. There we go. And that is now a greater than, because we had to flip the sign. So I'm going to shade above. Remember, above is this way. Because that's above it on the y-axis right here. And it's a dotted line, so we're just going to add a few more dots just to make it look more like a line. Okay, and that's how it's done. So now let's do it with systems of inequalities. I'm going to keep my chart close. Let's see. So it's shade below, shade above, solid, dotted. And we just did it, so we're not going to worry about that. Okay, almost the same. There's just more, like, you have 2 equations now, 2 inequalities instead of 1. So let's do it. So cool thing though, never have to solve for y, so that's nice. We're just going to graph it like we do. So -6 is my y-intercept, and then I'm going to go up 3 over 2, because that's my slope. Up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. One more time, and then backwards once. All right, that is a less than. So that is a dotted line because there's no line under the symbol. It's not equal to. And then it is a shade below. So I look at my y-axis, and below that dot is right there. So all of this. Okay, if you were using the same highlighter color the whole time, let's switch colors because that's going to make life a little bit easier for us. We're gonna graph this one. So my y-intercept now is 4, and my slope is -1 because that's a secret one. And we're gonna go all the way through because accuracy. I know it's a lot of dots when it's a 1 slope, so bear with me. All right. Again, it's a less than, so dotted lines. And I'm going to shade below, so I'm going to change to blue. And below my y-axis right there is all of this stuff. All right, with these types of questions, there's only one extra thing. It's you have to pick a point in the solution region. So that's one of our vocabulary words. Take a look if you don't believe me. But the solution region is where they both crossed. So they both were highlighted right here. That's why we did different colors. So just pick a random point in there. It doesn't matter which one. You can pick this one, you can pick that one, you can pick this one. Any of them on Delta Math, it's coded to fit to do any of them. Just make sure you do the X value first and the Y value second. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one just because I can, and that is 8, -7. But of course, guys, anytime you get the chance, you can pick 6, 7. Or you can pick any of the other ones I put in there, just as long as it's in that spot. That's your job. Okay, so let's try it one more time together and then I'll let you go. We're gonna graph them. Let's see, 2 is my y-intercept and then my slope is 1. Oh crap, it's another 1 slope, so it's a lot of dots. Cool thing on Delta Math is you don't have to do this as much, but it's good practice for your test. Now I'm gonna look at my symbol and it is a greater than, and that means I'm gonna shade above. So I look at my y-axis and I'm gonna go above my line. Like I said, you probably won't have to do that every time, but it's good to know how, in case it's tricky. So that's everything above, and my line's pretty well dotted, so I'm good. But it is going to be a dotted line, not a solid line. Last one, -7 is my y-intercept because it's right there, and then my slope is -2, so down 2 over 1, and then backwards up 2 over 1. 2 over 1. Ooh, look, they cross exactly right there. That's cool, but we don't really care. Okay, that's again a dotted line, so I'm going to add just a few more dots. And then switch your highlighter color. This is also greater than, so everything greater. And that is everything greater. So my solution region is this top triangle here, and I'm gonna pick, oh my goodness, I can do 6, 7 again, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do -2, 7. -2, 7. But you can do anything. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Try out your homework. Email me if you have any questions.